All right, folks. Thanks again for joining me. And I guess I'm going to title this one, I'm Not a Doctor Part 2. And if you enjoy this content, please share it with somebody else. If you're a subscriber, thank you. Encourage somebody else to subscribe. And if you find the content worthy of sharing, I thank you for doing that. So I'm not a doctor, but I do read a lot. And one of the things I wanted to get into is, in continuation to the last video, was please look at my body of work to get a full comprehension of what I believe. And so often I speak matter-of-factly, and it has something to do with I'm passionate about what I believe. And I believe that the human immune system that God created in us is the best way to fight viruses. And I really think that there's increasing and compelling data, facts, that we have actually been suppressing our human immune system through this overindulgence in vaccinations that are mandatory. And as I look at this, I continue to see how that is one of the ways that a ruling class takes life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness away from us. Those of us that are in, the minions, for lack of a better term, upper middle class, lower middle class, and lower class financial groups, the vast majority of the American citizenry. This is being taken from us, our freedoms, our basic freedoms. We are being forced to have vaccinations, and yet there's an overwhelming amount of data that's very compelling to suggest that it is actually suppressing, hurting our immune systems from being able to legitimately fight off viruses. And viruses are so they can be so deadly and scary, but the human system has been able to show how tremendous if it's boosted, if it's supported. And I believe that we need to put more money into real education and real studies, not supported, not that is financially supported and driven to try to prove big pharma, FDA, CDC's. Remember, science has a process. You create a hypothesis to start with. So much of science has just stayed in the hypothesis. In theory, this is how things are going to work. And then we have become the lab animals. I believe that we need to end the war on drugs, take that same money and put it into education and real studies that are not backed. American taxpayers give the government money. They want to fight a war on drugs. Why don't we fight to improve our human immune system, not create drugs and vaccines that suppress our human immune system? I also believe that we have preconditioned, and let's just say the last 35, 40 years of the children being born in the United States, we have preconditioned them to become drug addicts. And yet we're having this war on drugs. And so I think it's something I'm just suggesting this right now for you to do your own research, the effects of children's Motrin, children's Tylenol, the effects of the children's Benadryl, the effects of introducing things to kids on the old joke used to be that if your kid was keeping you up, you give them, 2 or 3 spoonfuls of Benadryl, and that's the best babysitter you could ever have. They wake up sometime around noon tomorrow, and you can go ahead and watch some TV tonight. Too many parents have subscribed to, well, it's just over the counter. It's not even a script. We know that poverty kills. We know that. And what we know is a boosted immune system, a healthy immune system, actually fights viruses very well, and it saves lives. We know that poverty is a representation of the lack of these things: clean and sustainable water and food, healthy practices like sleep and complete hydration. When we talk about the food chain and the depletion of real vitamins and minerals in our food chain, these are the things that I'm talking about, how we need to get back to the basics of understanding how to live healthy lives. I don't agree with the United Nations very often. As a matter of fact, I'm all for not being part of it and exposing it for the lies that it tells. And yet, even though I have that position mentally, I have that position, I also recognize that nobody is all good and nobody is all bad. Not as humans. I haven't seen that yet. And the United Nations is made up of humans that represent countries and agendas. Yes, I get that. But is it possible, subscribing to my earlier theory that no one is all bad or all good? I think the United Nations has proven me to be correct here. The United Nations is suggesting that 1/4 billion people, that's 250 million people, will be dead from the cure that we've implemented. If we don't get this global economy going now, 1/4 billion people, 250 million people, will perish through poverty. And if you've been paying attention, I've been very outspoken about one of the lies we are told is that we need to protect the most vulnerable among us. I'm not expressing a lack of empathy here. I think I'm being very realistic. And I'm just going to use a good friend of mine. He's 88 years old, and actually he's 88 years young right now. He's lived a life worthy of celebration. He is okay, just like the lieutenant governor in Texas who's 70 and said, if this virus takes me, I'm okay with that. But the people that I've, like my friend that I've talked with, what he's not okay with is adding more debt to future generations, giving up liberties that he served in the United States Army to defend and protect, for this potential of safety and security. It's not really anecdotal or even, I'm being more literal than anything, even though it can't ever happen. So that makes it figurative. To say that if our founding fathers could come back right now, they would come back to kick our ass because we've let this go. That we have exchanged the tyranny of a monarchy for the tyranny of governance in a city. And that city is either in your state, like in Michigan, it's Lansing, or that area is Washington, D.C. for the nation. And we've willingly done this over time. I've been calling for a peaceful revolution through the voting process. I also am asking us, it's a hard habit to break, but can we stop watching local news? Can we stop watching mainstream media? That's Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, NBC, CBS, ABC. Basically, 6 corporations control what it is that we are being told on a regular basis, almost like we're being brainwashed. That's kind of a teaser into my next video. I appreciate you. I really do. If you like it, share it. I'm James Detroit, and I'm out.